Welcome to the Doing Hard Things podcast. We've all heard that we can do hard things, but what about when it coincides with a cooperative and philanthropic spirit? That's where we find purpose-driven business at the crossroads of hard things and heart things. I'm your host, Amanda Mazzo. I'm an artist and business owner and have been my own boss for more than 15 years. I'm also a purpose mentor to collegiate juniors and seniors and am so inspired by conversations around who people are becoming versus what they're achieving. My guest today is Dr. Carmen April-Washington. She's a podiatrist specializing in the medical and surgical treatment of foot and ankle disorders, and she's dedicated almost 13 years to the Foot and Ankle Healthcare Center, a medical practice she built from scratch. She's been recognized as a 2020 Nashville Business Journal Women of Influence Award winner, Nashville Power Moves Award winner in the health and medical category, a Nashville Emerging Leader Award winner, and a Nashville Business Journal Top 40 Under 40 Award winner. There are literally so many other awards and recognitions I could list for Dr. April, but we'll get into all that and some fun facts too. We're so glad you're here. Now let's get to the heart of it. Dr. Carmen April-Washington, welcome to Doing Hard Things.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I am so happy to see you in person. We have seen each other. We saw each other for my birthday in November.
Yes.
But
which seems like it was just yesterday.
It's been, 7 months. So
time flies.
It's great to see you.
Well, we see each other virtually all the time
on
social media.
We do. I love keeping up with people that way.
Exactly.
And I was thinking about this, double check my math here.
Okay.
You and I both were in the junior chamber. Mm-hmm. So we have known each other 10 plus years. Is that right?
Yes.
10 plus.
So
okay.
I moved to Nashville. It was 2010 and soon after joined junior chamber. So it's probably more like 12.
Okay.
I would think it's like 12 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause I joined in 2009 and then I was on the board 2010, 2011, something like that. So,
it was one of the first organizations I joined when I came here to Nashville.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So you were one of the many great people that I met in junior chamber, but definitely like the one that I still keep in touch with.
I love that.
Yes.
I am happy that is the case. So after our junior chamber days, you became involved with Junior League, the Junior League of Nashville, and we are definitely going to dig into that later.
Yes.
But the burning question on my mind, Carmen, what happened to Dinner with Nerds?
Oh my goodness. So very good explanation for what happened with Dinner with Nerds. So Dinner with Nerds was my full-on food blog.
Yeah.
So visiting restaurants, talking with the owners of the restaurants, the chefs. What happened though was that it became more of like almost a full-time job that I could not handle.
In addition to your medical practice,
to my for real practice, it almost became like a full-time job. So especially, like I wasn't trying to hide. I wasn't like a secret restaurant critic, working for a newspaper or something. So the people would know when I would come in that this is what I was doing. I was wanting to feature and review their restaurant. But when I did that, then the restaurant owners, the chefs were like, well, when's the blog coming out? Which then put pressure on me.
Oh, wow.
I was doing the food photography, which I love. That is how it started in the first place. I've always had a love for food photography. But then it just really turned into like, okay, I got to meet this deadline. I have to have the blog done by this time. It became a lot. So eventually I just kind of phased it out. I still share my restaurant recommendations though on social media.
Yeah. And I've seen, beautiful pictures of food. Yes. You're still eating. You're still enjoying the culinary scene. Yeah.
I'm still enjoying it. I still love posting. I still love sharing about restaurants, especially like, our local Nashville restaurants, especially the smaller ones, kind of, family owned. And I'm up to like 400. I think it's like 442 now.
So you've added some. I was going to ask you. So how do you keep up? Because there's so many new restaurants coming in Nashville. Is it weird to ask, do you have a favorite?
Oh, so I have a couple of favorites.
Okay.
We truly love the Optimist in Germantown.
Seafood.
Yes, seafood.
Yes.
So I'm a huge seafood lover.
Okay.
So we love the Optimist. But I'm going to tell you, the other thing that we really love is just kind of like more of our local restaurants in our hood. in our neighborhood. So
Yeah.
I live in Brentwood, so in our hood of Brentwood. But there's some really good ones. And we venture down to Nolensville Road. We're not far from Nolensville Road either.
Yes.
It is like a beautiful international corridor along Nolensville Road, especially for restaurants and foods. So there are several that we try there. There's a amazing Colombian restaurant not far from us, La Chucharita.
Ooh.
So we frequent that one often.
Yes.
We love one of the Mexican restaurants really close to us. There's a Thai restaurant not too far from us in Brentwood, Bluefin. We eat there often. Like often enough to where the people know us when we come in.
I love that.
And they know exactly what we order.
Like the usual.
Yes, the usual. And sometimes I'll switch it up. I'm like, I'm going to try something different today. But in every single one of those restaurants that I just mentioned, they know us.
That's amazing.
They know us because so I love to frequent and support small businesses. I love a lot of our downtown restaurants too. Don't get me wrong. But they make their money by the tourists coming in.
Yes,
I like to support the smaller neighborhood restaurants.
Yeah.
So
I think that's important.
it's very important.
Yeah, they're for Cinco de Mayo. Not that, and I know, I'm hearing myself like it's not a Mexican holiday.
Independence Day.
No, but any opportunity I have to eat Mexican food, I am going to take that opportunity.
Yes.
And so this year we just running around like crazy, and Jason said, why don't we go down Nolensville Road and hit a few places like that? We've always wanted to do it. We've never done it. And so we had what do they call those? Like a traveling, a progressive meal.
Oh, those are the best.
Yeah. And we found a place where we ended up going back and we'll go back again because their tacos are incredible, but the avocado salsa is like, we're trying to figure out how to make it at home. It's so good.
We do the same thing. That's what happens on a lot of our travels. We come back and my husband, he does more of the cooking in our house. And he's like, I got to figure out how to make this. So yeah, that definitely can. Oh, I forgot to mention. Plaza Mariachi.
Oh,
on Nolensville Road.
Yes.
Like we go there all the time. The food is amazing.
So good.
Salsa dancing.
So fun.
Is off the chain.
Yes.
Every Thursday they have salsa dancing. That's where we went for Cinco de Mayo this year.
Oh,
yes.
shoot.
So the food was great. They had a lot of performances. It
oh
was
my
a
gosh.
lot of fun.
We probably just ran out of time, but that was on our list too. The whole month of May was International Food Fest at Plaza Mariachi. Yes. And so they had all these different food trucks. Of course, they have all the places inside.
Right.
And we hit the time where and Jason got his hair cut. Well, did you know they have like a barbershop?
Yes, I've seen it.
Yes, my friend and I were sitting, there's like a little cocktail bar like right across the way. And so we were sitting there and Jason looks up, sees the barbershop and is like, you know what, just hang here. I'm going to go get my hair cut. And that is a true story. But we hit it at the right time. They had these Brazilian dancers and musicians on inside, like the big
on
court
the
area.
stage.
I got dragged into a conga line. I mean, with the guys on stilts, there's so much color. It was the best time. We had a great time.
We go there often. Friday nights are a lot of fun in addition to the Thursday salsa, but they always have live performances every day. Every single day they have a live performance.
So fun.
Yeah. So we love Plaza Mariachi. And then there's another place. It's like a stationary food truck. So it's a food truck, but it never moves. It stays there.
Sure.
It sits at a gas station, but the best food.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I know you like to travel too. You and your husband. Tell me, and this is probably another tough question to answer. Do you have a favorite place to travel?
Oh my gosh. So we love Mexico. I know you guys like Mexico too.
Yes, we do.
We love it. The people are amazing.
Amazing.
It's friendly. The food is out of this world. Flavorful. Colombia. So we were in Colombia, in Cartagena, Colombia.
Okay.
So the people, once again, very similar to Mexico, just friendly.
Yeah.
They're very easy to engage you. When you're there, I try to use my Spanish, the Spanish that I have. And they love that. So when they see that you're trying, they enjoy it. They try back. So it gives me a great opportunity. Like I love traveling to Mexico, the Caribbean, and then like Colombia, like I said, are some of our favorite. The food in Colombia, out of this world.
Okay.
Like we had whole fish like every day. So whether it was grilled, whether it was fried, whole fish, and every place we went was different though.
I'm expanding my list here, and I feel like you and I probably could spend an entire day around travel and food because I mean, even with you saying that, I'm like, oh, I got to tell her about this. So connect the dots for me. I know that you are a Mississippi State alum.
I am. Bulldogs.
And go Bulldogs. And now you have this thriving medical practice here. How did you get from point A to point B? How did you start the Foot and Ankle Healthcare Center?
So as you said, I am a very proud alum of Mississippi State University. My husband is too. We kind of have a Mississippi State Bulldog family. So I'm a graduate. My husband is, my sister, his brother, sister-in-law, brother-in-law.
Whoa.
Like, yeah. So we're a huge Mississippi State family. My father-in-law was actually a professor in the education department at Mississippi State for a really long time too. So my husband grew up in Starkville for a part of his life in high school.
Okay.
So anywho, and we are huge Mississippi State football fans, basketball, everything else, had to throw that in there. But I always knew that I wanted to go into medicine from a time I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a kid just saying, oh, I want to be a doctor, you know, I always gravitated toward science and anatomy and that type of thing. You don't really get specific until, you know, college, that type of thing.
Sure.
Well, when I was at Mississippi State, I was an athletic trainer. So for 4 years, I worked with our football team, women's basketball, women's volleyball, and cheerleading. And sometimes people are like, cheerleading? Yeah, we had competitive cheerleading, and they sustained more injuries.
Oh, I'm sure.
than anybody else that I worked with. So
Yeah.
I loved it. They were a great bunch of young people too. I mean, I was young at the time. We were all the same age, but I'm just saying.
We haven't aged a day.
We haven't aged a day.
Yeah.
And so really enjoyed working with them. So it was from there that I kind of started looking at podiatry as the specialty that I wanted to go into. So I was not even a traditional like biology or chemistry pre-med major.
Mm-hmm.
I was pre-med kinesiology, which was a much better fit. I loved it. Kinesiology is the study of the body and how it works, the movements, etc. And so I followed that path, ended up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at Temple. So Temple University School of Podiatric Medicine. I did my 4 years there, graduated as a doctor of podiatric medicine, then went on to Detroit, which is where I did my residency. So I did my residency, Providence Hospital in Southfield. It's like sits literally right there on the edge of Southfield in Detroit.
Okay.
And then, so I spent 3 years there in a very intense surgical podiatry program, residency program, and then moved to Nashville. So that's how I ended up here.
Why Nashville though? I'm just curious.
So I didn't want to necessarily go all the way back home to Mississippi.
It's close enough.
It's close enough. It touches. So I wanted to get close enough to home without necessarily having to be there.
Mm-hmm.
In the summer between my junior and senior year at Mississippi State, I did a summer program here in Nashville.
Okay.
At Fisk, Meharry, and Vanderbilt. And I loved it. Like, I love the city. And I was like, you know what? Let's try Nashville.
Yeah.
So it really, like, I have always been a person who just trusts my gut.
Yeah.
I trust my gut. I know that the type of personality that I have, like, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So I think wherever I would have landed, I would have made it happen. I came here to work for another practice. It turned out to be an absolute disaster.
Oh, no.
And so after 2 weeks, I was like, peace out. I know that I'm not going to stay here. And I said, but I got to be smart. I have to be very strategic about it. So I gave myself another month to figure out my exit strategy. Mm-hmm. And I did. So 6 months later, after I started at that practice, which was completely not what I thought it would be, I left. I was like, I can't do this. This is insane. And I got the heck on up out of there. And that day I started working on my own practice. And a couple months later, saw my first patients in my very own practice.
That's incredible. I love these stories of just that pivotal moment where entrepreneurs make that decision to be like, well, okay, it's now or never. For me, it was like, well, I mean, I got pushed into that. as well.
Mhm.
But it ended up being a good thing, I think, because I don't know that I would have taken that leap so young.
Exactly.
Without my boss coming in and saying, I'm retiring. Maybe now is the time for you to go out on your own.
On your own. Yeah.
And I look back now, I don't know. I don't know if I would have done it. It was
Mhm.
always a dream. But then, and my dad encouraging me and saying, you're young enough now, you can bounce
Do it
back.
now. Yep.
You can
Yeah.
bounce back. If you completely fall on your face, you can bounce back. But I'm with you. I mean, I have always had that personality of like, there is no plan B.
Yes.
I have to make this work.
It work.
Yeah.
I am going to figure it out. And
Yeah.
I think that is something very unique to entrepreneurs. Like as entrepreneurs, we kind of have like a different risk tolerance.
A little bit. Yeah.
We can be a little bit cray-cray sometimes because you almost have to be a little bit cray-cray
Mhm.
to come up with the type of ideas that we do as entrepreneurs. Like as an entrepreneur, you cannot be afraid to try things. And if it doesn't work, try again. But
Yeah.
like you're going to go full in on what you're trying to do right now.
That's right.
You're going to do whatever you can to make it work. And so that's what I did. And it worked.
And it's working. I
and
love
it's
that.
still working like almost 13 years later.
I love it.
It's still working.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're celebrating 10 years this year. That doesn't count
Yay.
the time that we were both, Jason and I were both freelancers.
Yes.
But I love that.
yeah.
So after almost 13 years, what is one thing about starting your practice that's totally surprised you?
that I'm still here, number one. Because as you know, most small businesses fail. And I
Yeah.
totally understand it. Like I get it. I get why.
It's not for the faint of
It is
heart.
not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
It absolutely is not. I think because I provide such a service that is essential
Mhm.
to people, that's been one of the things that is the reason why I'm still here, even though the business side of it, we can talk about that later. But that that is interesting. Like the feet are
Mhm.
always there. The patients will always be there. The struggle that I have often is just dealing with the insurance companies and
Oh,
how
wow.
year over year, their reimbursements go down. My costs continue to go up. So, there's two different aspects to what I do. There's what I have been trained to do, how I treat my patients, but then there is also the business side of it as well. So
Mhm.
I don't know that when you say what surprises you, I don't know that I fully expected year over year for things to get more and more expensive.
That's part of the game.
It's part of the game. It's part of business. I will say one of the really good things that I've loved about that surprised me that I didn't expect is that it's given me a platform to like be here with you.
I love it.
Talking
The flexibility.
about the flexibility, talking
Mhm.
about entrepreneurship. So like I love just meeting people, sitting down,
Same.
talking to folks, sharing with other people about my entrepreneurial journey. And so it has like people ask me, they invite me to come speak because I'm like a subject matter expert when it comes to a young person who just threw caution to the wind
Yes.
and started something that is still a business that's still rocking and rolling years later. Like I love to share my story because when I was getting started and just kind of even years before then, I always look to other people,
Mhm.
for inspiration.
Mhm.
And so I'm glad that I can be that inspiration for other people. So that has been something that was unexpected, but very welcomed.
Okay, so you know that I'm a creative, which is
Yes.
very different than being in the medical field for a multitude of reasons.
Yes.
But I'm thinking about our business and how it seems to be in this constant state of becoming. We neither one of us have a background in business, and so like you said, you just kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
I imagine that a medical practice is probably more rigid because it has to be. There's a lot of things a lot of boxes you have to check.
Yes.
I'm curious, did you have flexibility developing a company culture in your practice?
I did. And so that's one thing that I really loved about having my own practice is because I could create that.
Mm,
So if you're trying to go into another business, into another practice, just like anything, any company that you go work for that's already existing and you are a piece of the puzzle trying to fit in, that is exactly what you have to do. You have to fit into that company culture. When you start your own thing, you're able to set the standard. You're able to create the type of culture that you want. And so I always set out saying I want it to be more of a boutique type practice. So I intentionally take more time with my patients than you would get if, say, you went to a practice in one of the bigger hospital systems here. They're rolling people in and out of there, every literally 7 to 10 minutes. If you look at the actual numbers, you're only having 7 to 10 minutes to see your doctor as a patient if you're going to a practice in a huge medical system. It's a numbers game.
What I'm hearing is like you're structuring it the way that you would want to be treated.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way that I want to be. I don't want to sit in somebody's office all day. Like, do not have me sitting in your waiting room for an hour. That's a no-no. And I want you to know that I care. Like, and the other thing that's important to me is when the appointment is done, if you're my patient, the appointment is done, I want you to fully understand what's going on with you in your health.
Yeah. In these conversations about purpose and purpose-driven business, I think values come up a lot. And I'm hearing you say, like, these are the things that were important to me. And so when you developed this practice and you start hiring a team, because it can't just be you running the day-to-day, how do you translate those values to your team?
So you have to be honest and just spell them out. Like, articulate, this is what I want. Honesty, integrity, empathy, caring for the patients when they walk through the door. If your job is there at the front desk to handle everything, front desk, front office, you've got to be pleasant. When people walk in, they need to see a smile on your face. If you're talking to them on the phone, they need to hear the smile on your face over the phone. So I don't like to leave much to chance. Like, you're not going to be able to say, well, I didn't know, you never told me. Oh no, I told you. I told you, this is how, like, you represent me.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what does purpose mean to you and how are you pursuing living that out?
I think that purpose is a journey. I think that it means different things in different points in your life.
Totally.
What purpose meant to me as a teenager is completely different than what purpose means now. And what I have found is that oftentimes people come into an awareness of what their purpose is after, like, maybe an adverse event.
Oh, 100%. That's part of the reason we're here, because when it aligned, it was perfect timing, because I had just, we hit 2020. I mean, there were some other things leading up to that, but we hit 2020 and we saw work kind of fade away a little or look differently. And it is what it is. But if you're putting your identity in your work and your work is gone, what's left?
Yeah.
And so I had this moment of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's left. And so, but I've got to find out, because right now I can't, this place that I'm in physically and emotionally is not sustainable for me. And if I'm going to grow out of this, like I'm willing to start digging and doing the work. So I did it. I'm not going to say there's a starting point and an end point. I think this is, you're right. It's a continual journey.
Yes.
But right after I kind of got past that, like out of that hole, I don't know.
The stuckness.
Yeah. Right. And things started to kind of make sense to me. That's when Belmont approached me about being a purpose mentor. And so I got to have these conversations with college kids and go, it's so important for you to show up authentically. Do not listen to the lies on social media. And also, who you're becoming is so much richer than your output, the things that you're producing or the things that you're achieving. So yes, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, it is. It happened for me about 10 years ago.
Oh,
so
you got a head start.
Well, and it was for some of the same reason. It was because I was in business feeling the pain, the growing pains of business, hitting these lulls, because I'm sure you will also understand this, that there are months of the year that are better than others.
It's a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster in entrepreneurship. You are not receiving a consistent paycheck every 2 weeks or every month or whatever it is. Some months are good. Some months are better. Some months are not so good. And you better be smart enough to manage your money and your budget There are always going to be things that are unpredictable. And so I hit one of those points where I was like, what the heck? Like, what am I doing? I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but it was already at that point where I was seeing how things were just increasing in price every year, every year, every year. I was like, is this going to keep happening? Like, how is this sustainable if this just happens year over year?
Right.
And so I just was like, okay, we got to do this exploration. Let's figure out what's going on here. And that is when, for me, I went on a journey of literally, so I am a like for real pen to paper, write the vision, make it plain type person. And I wrote these things down. And so what I came up for myself is that my purpose is to uplift, encourage, and inspire.
I
So
love that.
since that time, everything that I do that makes sense to me has to fall within those parameters.
Yes. And this is what I am trying to tell, these college students. I keep calling them kids, and they are not kids. They are in their 20s.
They're young people.
Yeah, they're young people. Yeah. Once you figure that out, once you have it drilled down, and it doesn't have to be like a long essay thing. No. It can be that simple, to uplift,
encourage, inspire.
So everything that you do, every opportunity that comes to you, you can look at it and go, does this uplift, encourage, or inspire? Yes. Then that's an easy no for me.
That's an easy no. And I would also like to add that in my purpose statement and just the journey, what you also have to realize is that purpose is not tied to a specific job either. And I think that's something that's really important for people to understand too. Like purpose is way bigger than that. So your jobs fit within it. Like, obviously if you're working in a job that falls outside of what, what that purpose is, you're going to feel a little lost. You're going to feel disconnected, but it is not a job. It's just part of the picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm over here doing a little happy dance. I mean, it is tough. It's not like an easy thing where I can just write a purpose or write a mission vision statement and be like, we're done. No, this is like some deep
exploration. Yeah. You got to
exploration. Yeah.
You have to dig deep and write it down. It really helps to jot these things down. Does this feel good? Not quite, try again. Like, try several iterations of what it feels like.
Yes.
And you'll know when you've got that.
Yeah.
That idea
I'm a really big fan of the rough draft because sometimes I think for creatives, and for anyone, everyone is creative, but for me, I'm a visual person. And sometimes you just got to get that energy out where you're just like, okay, rough draft, throw it away, rough draft, throw it away. Cause eventually you'll get to the final, final.
But you got to get it from here to here. Like you have to get it out of your mind.
That's right.
You speak what you seek until you see what you've said. You got to write it down.
So good. Okay. So I often joke about my sense of time and how I think when 2020 happened, we're coming back to the pandemic. There's something that happened in the last 3 years where I'm just like, time is a construct.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what happened here.
Where did it go?
I'm glad I'm not alone. Thank you.
Like 3 years ago.
I have no idea. I feel like even today, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Like, I'm just going to keep blaming it on that. But, jokes aside, so that was a tough time, especially for the medical industry.
Yeah.
What kept you going through that and what keeps you going today?
Well, so if we're going to be honest, the bills had to continue to get paid.
Oh no.
So let's just be for real about it. And that is like, I'm sure you can say the same thing. Nobody told me that it was okay to stop paying rent in my office. Like everybody still wanted their money. I still had employees that had to be paid.
Right.
My student loans did not stop. Like they put them on pause for maybe 3 months. But after that, the type of loans that I have that only came from med school, I may add, which just drives me crazy. I was free and clear when I left undergrad, but that's what those did not stop. So I had no choice but to keep going. And so I actually never closed my practice. Wow. Now I will tell you that for 2 weeks, we kind of sat there like, like Googling random things, sitting in the office because I know it seems so far away at this point, but we have to remember like everybody was scared. We didn't know
Yeah.
what the heck was happening for like the first couple of weeks that the world shut down. And so everybody was afraid to come out, especially my older patients.
Mhm. Oh,
They were
sure.
like, I'm not going anywhere. I'll just have to call you back when we figure out what's going on. So there was maybe 2 weeks where it was rough.
Hmm.
It never was a time where I didn't have anybody
Hmm.
coming through the door. Even in those first 2 weeks, it was sparse, but it was like there may be one person in the morning, one patient in the afternoon. It's like, okay, is what it is, but at least somebody's there.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what kept me going, is just because I really had no other choice.
Yeah.
I'm an independent small business who still had bills to pay.
Yeah. Okay. So often I ask the question about what fills you up outside of work, but this already feels so easy with your involvement in the Junior League of Nashville. Before I say, tell me about how you got involved with this organization, I have a list here of everything that you have done. Vice President of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which, by the way, let me just interject this. I usually see the DEI. I do not see DEIB. And I loved that's added in. Created the Racial Equity Journal Club, Exceeding Expectations Award, Paragon Award for Outstanding Active Member of the Year, and co-chair for inaugural Rise Up Women's Summit. I got them all. So tell me how you got involved with them.
My story is actually pretty unique. I grew up a Junior League kid. So my mother was in Junior League of Jackson, and she kind of the membership categories. She's a sustainer now, which means that she kind of served all of her active years, many years in Junior League of Jackson. And so she is a sustainer now, which means that she still is a full member, but she kind of gets to pick and choose what she wants to do in the different activities. So I grew up going to a lot of her events, meetings, volunteer activities. And I will say that my mom has been such a groundbreaker when it comes to that. She was actually the very first African-American woman in Junior League of Jackson, Mississippi. And so I learned a lot from her and was able to see how she broke down a lot of barriers when it came to that. But even one of the placements that she had, and when we say placement, that is like your activity for the year, the organization, whether it be like the community organization that you're working with or your in-league placement, was at the Blair E. Batson Children's Hospital in Jackson. So it's the only children's hospital in the entire state of Mississippi. And we worked with the children with sickle cell anemia.
Oh, wow.
And so, so with me, even at that age, like junior high and high school, knowing that I wanted to go into medicine, they let mom bring us to, like, me and my sister and brother. So because of my interest in medicine, they allowed me to, like, literally work with the patients, with the children, take their height and weight and their blood pressure. And yes, it was such a blessing. It was an eye-opening experience for me. It really just kind of helped, like, feed my love of what I knew I wanted to do. It allowed me to develop such a love for the Junior League and to see the great work that they do in all of the different junior leagues throughout the country. So when I got here to Nashville, I wanted to definitely be a part. And we do wonderful work in the community, and the opportunities that I have had with chairing the inaugural Women's Summit. I have, like you said, been recognized for the work that I do, which it's not why I do it, but it always feels good to be recognized.
Sure.
And then really some amazing work that we have done with DEIB. That belonging piece is important.
Yes.
The belonging piece, I think, brings it all together, because basically that is what we're trying to do. We are trying to make sure that everybody, no matter where you come from, what you look like, who you are, feel like you belong in this space.
Yes.
What do we have to do to make sure that happens?
Yes. Well, I'm really interested in hearing more about the Rise Up Women's Summit. This year, you were a moderator for a panel called Rooted in Purpose, Finding It, Living It, Thriving in It. And this sounds right up my alley. I'm curious, who was on the panel, and did you have any good takeaways?
Each of the women were talking about, like, when you hear their stories, you hear how they came to almost like a decision point, or something happened, or somebody in business told them no. I'm not going to afford you this opportunity. Oh, women can't do this, etc. And they were like, okay, wait, I've got to figure this out. Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And it was very similar to like the journey that I have, or the journey that you have. Like, hold on, everything was going well. Now it's not. What do I have to figure out here? I think at the end of the day, what it boils down to is, yes, it is not a destination. I know we've said journey a million times, but it truly, that is what it is.
Yeah. So we have a segment here on Doing Hard Things called Pick a Card, Any Card. And I've got a red check, orange arrows, purple triangle, blue diamond, pink heart, gold star, and green shamrock. So pick a card, any card.
So my favorite color ever since I've been a little girl is green. So we're going to go with green.
Green shamrock it is. Okay. So your question is, what is the most effective way you found to handle stress?
Oh, wow. So I love to meditate. So I guess there's two. On a daily basis, I love to meditate. I love the Calm app. Have you ever used the Calm app?
Yes.
Ooh, I love it. And you can put that thing on and you can set it to like 30 minutes and then it gives like a little ding when the 30 minutes is up. And so in the middle of the day, lunchtime in my office, I will cut the lights off, close that door, and just put the Calm app on. And that helps me to de-stress on a regular basis. What I have also learned is that a good vacation every 3 months.
I like that. Yes, bring it.
It does. And so for real, it helps me to have something to look forward to. So every 3 months, it's got to be something. Not only does it just afford me the time to look forward to just relax, but I love learning. So like I love learning about new places and new cultures, and I will do my research like nobody's business. And I enjoy doing that too, leading up to those trips. So that's the consistent thing. And then the thing that I need every couple of months.
Okay. So what is the best piece of advice you've been given, or what advice would you give to someone just starting in their career?
I think they go hand in hand, and it would be to be a forever learner. You will never know all the things. You will never know everything. There is like, even if you think you are a master expert at what you do, life just tells us that like, there's always going to be something new and the latest and the greatest. And you always have to be willing to learn. I am not afraid to ask people for coffee. I am not afraid to say, hey, I see that you've been doing this for a while. I've heard that you're great at it. Would you mind if we sit down for coffee and just chat about it for a while? The other thing I think is important too, is especially when people are really, really good at what they do, don't just ask for coffee. Like if a person, especially a small business, pay people for what they know, pay them for their knowledge. Because that's one thing too, that sometimes drives me crazy, is people will ask you for things and it's like, but like this
is what I do for a living.
This is what I do for a living. Like, no, I am not just going to come and do like foot exams on people. Like, do you understand that this is what I do for a living? It took me, I know I make it look easy, but there is a lot of time and education and wisdom that has gone into what I do.
Yes,
ma'am. So if you want me to come, pay me to come. Like my bills still need to be paid.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
So we pay people what they're worth.
Yes. We get that a lot, especially in a creative field.
Yes.
Because, your job looks so fun. Let me give you another opportunity to have fun. Yeah. You'll enjoy this and it'll be great exposure for you. Does exposure pay the bills?
No, exposure does not pay the bills.
Last I checked, my mortgage doesn't take exposure for payment.
If the creative or the small business person does not ask for a fee, sow into their business somehow. Like make a donation to them. Do something.
And a donation, it doesn't have to be financial.
Correct.
You could promote them on socials. You could write a review on Google or Facebook or anything. Like word of mouth is huge.
It's huge. It's huge. That's where a large chunk of my new patient population comes from, is word of mouth from existing patients, referring their family, friends, coworkers, other people to me, or even on social media. Social media can be a blessing and a curse.
Yes, ma'am.
But there are people who will reach out on social media and say, hey, I need a good podiatrist. And, I'll be looking one day and I'm tagged in some random person's post. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? They're recommending me as a good podiatrist. So
that's my favorite kind of, it's my favorite kind of advertising.
Absolutely.
I
love, can't pay for it.
Yeah.
You can't pay for that.
Yeah, it's far more valuable than anything else. So, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
Well, I would say that one of the exciting things that I have added to my offerings, to my brands, because I am asked to speak a lot.
Yes.
I'm asked to speak on entrepreneurship panels and for young people. One of the things that I think is so, so important, not only for my work with my patients, but then also all of the work with the Junior League, with my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, with the nonprofits that I work with, board of directors that I've been on, is that you've got to understand how to understand yourself, to understand how you work with other people, like your personality, how you work well with other people. So one of the things in the past year that I have started doing as an extension of that, and part of like my speaking topics, is as an Enneagram coach and consultant. Yes, I see your face go.
Yes.
That's how everybody is. Like when you say Enneagram, people's face lights up like, oh my gosh, I love the Enneagram.
I've read The Road Back to You, and then I'm going through one right now talking about I'm still on the introduction because it's like 500 pages, but it has a lot of, I was telling my counselor the other day, I'm like, these exercises, it's almost, the introduction is almost like a workbook.
Yes.
And so I want to spend a lot of time in it because I want to go through some of these things.
My exploration in Enneagram, when I first started, diving deep into it and learning about it years ago, I was like, what the heck? Did somebody like open my brain and just like look into it and figure out what my personality is? Like, I've done disc profile and, Myers-Briggs and all of that, but nothing really, like, people identify with their Enneagram number, unlike any other personality typing framework. Yeah.
For me, it's a tool to understand how to love people better.
Yes.
Or to, even if I'm not going to go up to my clients and be like, what number are you?
Right.
But it helps me kind of understand like, oh, they're really fighting for justice. Perhaps they're an 8. And so that kind of, or like a 7 with an 8 wing or whatever, but it helps me kind of go, okay, that gives me some context for where they're coming from.
Yes.
And what the motivation is, and especially in like
motivation,
crisis conversations, like all that stuff. Oh, it's so helpful.
It's extremely helpful. It's like night and day if you can understand how you approach the world, and then in comparison with how other people are approaching you and how they see the world. It helps to avoid and resolve a lot of conflict.
Yes. Right.
And so I've been helping people on an individual basis with like individual coaching, and then also with groups and organizations. And so, yeah, I love it. I love facilitating workshops.
Yeah.
And I want it to be just like very specific with the type of workshops that I do. So about a year ago, I started delving into that, and I was like, you know what, this is going to be the focus because it has made such a difference in how I see people and work with people and interact with them. So but and all that information is on my website.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Tell me, it's
drcarmenapril.com.
drcarmenapril.com. I love it.
Yep,
we'll link to that too.
drcarmenapril.com with DR instead of doctor spelled.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so last question to bring it all back.
Drum roll.
Bring it back to bring it back around to purpose.
Yes.
What is your why?
I think my why is tied to my purpose. So literally, it's that uplift, encourage, and inspire.
Yeah.
Like that's what I do. That's why I do what I do. It has to fit within those parameters. If it doesn't, I will gladly pass the opportunity on to somebody else. Part of my why and part of my purpose is just to continue to explore, to continue to see other places and other people and other cultures, and we're not as different as we think we are. So
keep learning.
Keep learning.
Uplift, encourage, inspire. Keep an open mind.
Keep an open mind.
I love it.
Yeah.
Carmen, this has been so fun. We could probably do a part 2 with everything. Maybe we should just start like a travel and food podcast.
Let's do it. I would be so excited to work with you on that.
Oh, same. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yay, thank you, Amanda. I love it. It's been great.
If you'd like to hear more, you can follow Dr. April at Dinner with Dr. Carmen. That's DrCarmen. We're also on Instagram at Doing Hard Things and at Mazzo Media. Thanks for joining us today. Did this conversation strike a chord with your heart? We'd love for you to share your story with us at mazzomedia.com/heart. Please also share, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate your help getting us into your friends' ears. We'll see you back here with the next episode. Until then, keep doing hard things.
Doing Hard Things is brought to you by Mazzo Media, an award-winning creative studio in Nashville, Tennessee. We work with people, brands, and organizations to help tell their stories through videography, photography, graphic design, and social content. We believe that everyone has a story worth telling, and it's in those stories that we build bridges to each other. Ready to share yours? Get started at mazzomedia.com.